Okay, it's right on the dot at 5 o'clock. We'll start the webinar now. Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to GovReports webinar. For today's sessions, we have the pleasure of having Anatole as our presenter, who will share with us what, when and how his team implement an effective end-of-year process that harmonize the team's environment and at the same time growing a client base. Before I hand over the control to Anatole to ensure that technology is working for everyone here, can I get a raise of hands if you can hear me? Thanks, Marina. Anyone else can hear me? If you can't hear me, or just check with your the sound check on your dashboard to make sure that you can hear me. If not, yeah, maybe just log in and log back in again, log out and log back in again. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, there's a few people that can hear me. So this session is recorded and will be posted on our GovReports website on the webinars calendars page. If after the session, so if you miss a little bit here or there, you can always revisit the session at your convenience. During the session, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to send it through on the questions panel on your dashboard so we can come back to it during questions time. Okay, so over to you, Anatole.
All right, thank you, Tiana, and thank you, GovReports, for organizing this. So yes, hi everyone, my name is Anatole and I'll be leading this discussion about how to implement end-of-year processes, what we have done or I've done with my team, and how it affects the business user, I guess us as the best, best agents, and the tax agent process. So if any time during this webinar, if anyone has questions, please either raise your hands or use the chat function on the system and ask any questions. So I'm happy to answer questions or talk to you guys during the presentation. We don't have to wait until the very end. So let's start. First of all, just a little bit about me. So I own a bookkeeping firm called AGI Bookkeeping. I'm a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, as well as a CPA fellow member and a registered tax agent. So I've run a bookkeeping business for a long time and been accountant bookkeeper for over 20 years. And during that time, I'm always trying to find the best available approach to help me with the end of year process, which can be quite daunting and very challenging, especially at a bookkeeping level, because we don't have a lot of time to finalize single touch payroll, do all the reconciliations, and lodge the BASs. So what we're going to do is start with the webinar. The process that when I was thinking about this, how to approach it, the idea was to break it up into what the business owner needs to do by themselves or with our help as BAS and tax agents, what we as BAS agents need to do and the time frames around that, and that how that interacts with the tax agent process at the end. And obviously there is some overlapping between all the stakeholders in the process. So that's what we're going to discuss today. And how we as bookkeepers in my business, AGI Bookkeeping, how we try to manage the process. So as you guys know, what a business owner does at the end of the financial year directly impacts the bookkeeper in terms of, do we have the information? Is it accurate and complete? And then how does that get passed on to the tax agent as well? So from a business owner process, I start my discussions around May to prepare them for the end of the year process and what they need to do. So some of the issues to raise with clients is stock takes. What do they need to count? When do they need to count it? How do they count it? There's some cash flow planning that needs to go in. That is a bit of overlapping with tax agents. For example, do they look like they're going to make a lot of profit this year? So should they look at prepaying suppliers, rent? Do we want to pay the June quarter superannuation in the June quarter to claim the deduction? And with other clients that we have in the non-for-profit sector or medium-sized to large business clients, do we start talking about budgets, cash flow projections, and breaking that down so that by the time July rolls over, we have a 12-month projections already set up. So when we talk about stock takes, the issue I often have with clients is they don't know how to approach it, right? We know that they need to count all their stock, but how do they do that? So that's when we do some printouts from their accounting package. So if they're using MYOB, Xero, QuickBooks, or Reckon, being the 4 major systems around, or any other customized systems that they have in place, we want to show the clients how to print out a stock report or an inventory report and what to do with it, and then how to count the stock on hand. So that could be breaking it down into departments and doing it over a few weeks towards the end of June. Or some clients actively close their businesses for 2 days to do a stock take. Other clients, we've got some clients in the pharmacy space, so pharmacists, they might hire a third-party company to come in and do the stock count for them so that they have an accurate figure for end of financial year, which means that we as the bookkeepers can record that and the accountants will have the figures for their tax return. Cash flow planning is all about making sure, will they have enough money for June if they want to make some prepayments? So do they want to buy some extra stock, extra supplies, so that they can claim the tax deduction? Because all it is a timing issue. What about prepayment of rent for a few months? Or that discussion about superannuation deadlines? Do they have enough funds to pay super in the June quarter? And the same with budgets. So the way we do this is I have a team of bookkeepers that work with me together, and we break down our client base into size of clients, industries, and then we have a game plan as to how we approach. So all the clients that have inventory or stock, we'll put them to one side, and then we'll actively call them around May or June and have these discussions to make sure they don't forget to do their stock takes. Cash flow planning, clients that are profitable, that are growing their business, we will talk to them about cash flow planning issues. And other clients that want to have budgets, we will start that discussion and we'll break it down into different departments, different categories of sales. We'll build them a wages budget so that they can forecast what it means to hire an extra person or to grow their business to 5 or 6 new employees, as well as set up a budget for purchases, how much the store managers or the managers in the department can spend on their products, on their goods. Also in June, that's when I talk with my staff to start raising the issues with our clients. So we need to talk about accounts payables, receivables, the business processes, and a whole bunch of other issues. So we do try to review accounts payables each month or each quarter when we do the BAS with our clients. So if we see that there's something sitting in accounts payables more than 90 or 100 days, we try to raise it as an issue with clients and say, is it accurate? Do you really owe that money to the supplier? Is there a dispute? Or maybe you've paid it, but you've paid it from a personal bank account. So normally that triggers these discussions where we're double checking the accuracy of the information. because during the year we can make some changes, but we want to get it 100% correct by the end of the financial year so that there's nothing outstanding. Accounts receivables, that's when we start looking at provisions for doubtful debts, right? Is what is on the system correct? Those invoices that the clients have raised in 2019 or 2018 in some cases that are sitting in the system, are they really outstanding? Should we review our debt collection process? So accounts receivables can be a massive internal process that the business owner needs to constantly review. And it's not good enough just to talk to the business owners once when you start working with them, but you need to also review this every 6 to 12 months because the business evolves like a living organism. So we talk about, when it comes to debtors, we talk about automation, credit checks, and credit terms. Credit terms that might have been reasonable 12 months ago are not reasonable now with COVID. So when you used to give customers credit terms of 30 days, maybe now you need to look at 7 days, or you need to be paid up front before you supply goods in certain industries. So that's discussions we have with our clients, and especially around end of year processes. Also the bad debts and a debt collection process, right? So we try to formalize that process. If we need to, we'll recommend or ask the clients to use a debt collector if they want to and chase up those debts that have been sitting there for more than 4, 5, 6 months, as well as actively writing them off and putting them to the bad debt expense so that our sales, our accounts receivables are not overstated. And then we'll look at the business process. So this is a good time to review all the business processes of how information is recorded in the accounting system. Everything from the introduction of Receipt Bank or HubDoc, so any digitized system, to how, again, the debtors are managed, how we record and manage our cash flow, and all the way to actually the payment of suppliers. Do the clients want us as their bookkeeping provider to upload supplier payments and let them authorize it, or are they still comfortable doing everything? So that's when we review the whole business process. And we try to do that at a minimum of every year around the end of the year, because that's when we start having these discussions. Then one of the common things that I find is missed by both clients, accountants, and bookkeepers is picking up business-related payments from clients' personal accounts. A lot of times the client, especially during COVID, we found when we did an analysis of some clients, something as simple as a telephone bill. Because the businesses were closed, let's say in the beauty or hairdressing field, the businesses were closed, they didn't have enough money in their business bank account, they ended up paying telephone bills from their personal bank accounts. So where we would normally expect one payment per month, we had a whole gap of 3 to 4 months of no payments for internet, telephone, or various subscriptions. And when we raised it with our clients, all of a sudden they said, oh yeah, we were paying those fees, but we were paying them from our personal accounts. So that's when we asked for copies of invoices, bank statements, and we were able to bring it in through director loans, beneficiary loan accounts, and so on. But that just made me more mindful about picking up a lot of expenses that clients do pay or incur, but they're paid from personal, business, or credit card accounts. And the next thing is getting them to fix their employee details. So what I mean by that is we have payroll being paid every week, every fortnight, but no one does a thorough review of it down the track. So you set up your employee, they're in the system, but we don't review if we're missing any information. Maybe the addresses have changed, people have moved on. Are the employees getting their pay slips via email that we send out. So it's a good idea to talk to the clients and ask them if they're aware of any changes in employee circumstances and if anything needs to be updated. So does anyone have any questions around the business owner process or the discussions that we normally have with them? Let me just have a look.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a checklist when discussing with the business owner?
Yes. So we actually use a computer program, a practice management software that every client is entered into. So that takes me to the next page. So here we have automated a lot of our processes, including end-of-year processes. So there's a whole bunch of software that you can use, one of them being GovReports, of course. They have their own office practice management system. There's 0xPM, Center, Carbon, a whole bunch of them. And yes, so we use a program where we have a database of all our clients. We have the tasks and the jobs that we do for them. And part of it is an end-of-year process task, which is a recurring template that gets put across all our clients, but we customize it. For example, like we said, if they have stock, if they have debtors, creditors, and so on. So does that sort of answer the question, Tiana?
Yes. So your staff would be following the checklist and tick it off as they go along in terms of when they discuss with their business clients or as they do the job along the way.
So normally when we do BASs and stuff, that's very prescriptive. Like you need to lodge a BAS and you need to follow these steps. Or we need to lodge a superannuation payment or process it or remind the clients to. When it comes to end of year processes, we have some rough periods of when we tackle certain jobs. And every time we speak to a client, let's say to ask a payroll question or to discuss a supplier query, we will go through the list of end of year processes and then we'll talk to them about one thing at a time so that we don't overwhelm the clients, and we'll mention to them, right? We're talking about payroll, we're asking them something, and then we're saying, by the way, that stock take that you have to do in June, how have you thought about how you're going to approach that? And then that raises the discussion of a stock take. And then later, and another time we talk to them towards the end of the financial year about something else, we'll raise another issue. And then we'll mark it off actively on our practice management system.
Cool.
Yeah?
Thank you.
All right. The good thing with a practice management system, and again, you guys can use Excel or anything else, is for me, it gives me the visibility of what issues we've talked about with the whole client base. So normally towards the end of May, beginning of June, I'll go through the list and I'll see if we've covered the important points, like if we've covered the stock take issue with all our clients, or it could be accounts payables, receivables, and so on. And that gives me a good oversight across the whole client base and what discussions we've had. Obviously, these systems also allow us to add notes and set reminders in and so on. So this is an example of GovReports, how they've got their own internal practice management system. So we're all familiar with this. Let me have a look. So we're all familiar with Bird's View, My Clients, and Authorized Users, because we use that every day for BASs and My Lodgements. And then below that, they have the My Practice feature, which is where you can load jobs against clients and tasks, use some recurring templates, and reminders. So that's what people can use within their GovReports system. And in terms of checklist, the items that I'm covering now is exactly what's in our checklist in terms of what processes and what things we want to talk about to our clients. So like I said, we As part of our team organization and working with my bookkeepers, one sec. We, part of our internal controls is we have weekly team meetings, and we ramp them up and focus on end of year processes in second half of June and all throughout July. We are looking at reviews and controls. So that's where my dashboard, my checklists, all that review comes into place. Make sure we have the information from the clients, because one thing is talking to the clients and explaining to them the need to do a certain amount of work. The second part is making sure that they've done it. So in May, June, we'll talk to them, do a stock take, right? Review your debtors, review your creditors. Is all this accurate? But the most important bit is getting responses from the clients and getting them to do the work. So that's where having your internal checklists and team meetings is vital. So a lot of times in our team meetings, that's the time when my staff will raise the issue. They'll say, we've contacted this client, we've talked to them 4 or 5 times, but they haven't given us any responses. They haven't given us the answers back. And that's when it gets escalated to the senior bookkeeper working with that client or to myself, and then I'll just do a quick phone call to the client, have a chat to them, and keep things moving, rather than just the system or the bookkeeper sending reminders to the client with no responses. Okay, and again, the dashboard systems are great because they let me know the state of each project or each type of work. So the timeline that we are working with as BAS agents is in April, we review the work cover or the WorkSafe wage estimates. Again, a lot of people forget that, clients especially. Clients that have phenomenal growth, maybe not in this financial year with COVID and everything, but last year we definitely had a lot of clients that expanded their businesses, hired more staff, and people tend to forget that when it comes to July, you have to lodge your actual work cover or WorkSafe certificates. And if the difference is more than 20 to 25% between your estimate and your actuals, you can get penalized by the work cover authority. So what we do as part of our processes, we've introduced this a few years ago, is in April, we will see what the actual wages have been for the client, extrapolate them out until June, and make an adjustment to their work cover statement if appropriate, or even reduce it down and they get a credit for it. So the clients are not overpaying for it. Otherwise, where clients manage WorkSafe themselves, we've seen them get sizable fines for under-declaring wages. So our aim is to prevent that from happening. So where the client is managing themselves, we will remind them to do this, or that they have to. If it's us who does the wages and the full payroll function, then we will adjust work cover ourselves. Also, what I found since the introduction of single touch payroll is that I don't want to be scrambling in June, July, when we have a limited amount of time to reconcile my wages to what's been lodged with single touch payroll in case there's any discrepancies. So what we do is we do a quick pre-check of single touch payroll to make sure that what we've paid to the employees and what we've lodged to the tax office actually does match. All right, if it doesn't, we investigate and fix it up. So that way we only have May and June where there's hopefully no issues, and then it's really easy for us to do our wages reconciliations and finalize single touch payroll. I found that that saved us a lot of stress and a lot of time by doing it in May when it's not as busy. For us, we also obviously in May look at accounts payables, receivables, and have these general bookkeeping, accounting discussions with our clients. Also, something that no one really looks at is leave entitlements. And basically running a report in whichever system you use to show the clients that, hey, some employees have 5, 6, 8 weeks of annual leave. And as we know, typically in July, there is a pay increase for most awards. This year it's been sort of staggered across 3 key dates, but generally it's around July. There's increases, which will increase all the employees' leave entitlements. So we want to make clients aware of this, and they might be able to talk to their employees directly or through their HR managers to do annual leave cash outs, ask some staff to take leave because it's above and beyond the internal policies of the companies, and all that sort of information subject to obviously the correct awards. And in June, we need to remind clients to do a stock take, which they always forget, and make sure it's done at cost, not at retail value, as some clients have done in the past, which blows their stock take figures out of the water. And then in July, it becomes really, really hectic. That's when we want to reconcile all our credit cards, bank accounts, loans, petty cash. Nowadays, we have PayPal, we have Stripe, we have a whole bunch of other online systems that need to be reconciled. And that's when you need to compare your balances to actual bank statements. So you'll be surprised how many times we pick up new clients from other accountants, bookkeepers, where the client was doing it by themselves. And we ask client for the bank statements. And even though things have been seemingly reconciled and everything's entered, the bank balances do not match between the accounting system and the statement. And that's when we have to backtrack. And in some cases, we had to go back 2 to 3 years to fix a discrepancy. Even though I've looked in their financial reports prepared by previous accountants, and it all matched the accounting system, but no one actually had a bank statement on file to verify the balances. So as a matter of course, we have a checklist process as part of our BAS process. Every quarter, we need to get actual bank statements from the clients to compare the balances, and especially end of the year. So as a BAS agent, where we don't do the tax work for the clients, which we generally don't, we work with our accounting partners, we will print out the bank reconciliation or do a print screen of the screen. We will scan the bank statement, and we create an accounting folder that we then give our accountants once it's all finalized, generally by the end of July. So that when they need to prepare their work papers, they need to do their tax returns, they have it all on hand. So at the same time, we will reconcile our accounts receivables and accounts payables. So what that means is we want to make sure that what we have in our subsidiary ledger, the details of the debtors and creditors will match to our balance sheet account. Sometimes they'll be out due to timing issues, so we want to be able to reconcile it all and be able to explain it and make notes and then save that into the accountants folder that we have on our server. The same goes to reconciling GST, PAYG, superannuation, loan accounts, and that again forms part of the accountant pack. Then for some of our clients, again, as part of our checklist that we have on our practice management system, is not to forget the annual leave adjustments or provisions and stock adjustments and write-offs. And again, we review bad debts, creditors and debtors. One thing that people don't look at is purchase orders and sales orders. So even though they don't have a financial impact, it's just good practice to remove them from their package accounting system. Talk to your clients, of course, before doing that. But just to keep it clean so you don't have a whole bunch of purchase orders sitting in the system, unmatched, and sales orders. And obviously review your suspense account and definitely clean it up by the end of the financial year. The next thing we do, again, I use end of financial year review as a review of all our work that we're doing for the client. So a lot of times clients have outgrown their current chart of accounts. They might have pivoted to include other services or other income streams. And that generally includes adjusting and changing their chart of accounts, primarily because the client wants to get profit and loss and other information in a more meaningful manner. Maybe they want more categories to help them in their decision-making process. So that's where all these discussions in May and June impact the review of chart of accounts. That's also when we, obviously in July, we reconcile our single touch payroll using our templates that we have, where we reconcile wages to the profit and loss, to the BAS, to the IAS, to make sure that everything ties up. And again, that's something that our accountants, accounting partners, they really like because it eliminates that series of work for them. Also, you'll be surprised how many times clients aren't aware that they need to register for payroll tax, which in Victoria is wages above $650,000, wages and super. And generally speaking, you'll know about it only towards the end of the year because that's when you see the full extent of wages. Some clients might have just crept over. So that's when you need to sort of look at it, be aware that payroll tax exists and register them for it. Obviously, in conjunction to talking to the clients, talking to the accountants, we as bookkeepers tend to do the actual work for registration, but we'll make sure that everyone's involved in the process and is aware of it. Same thing for fuel tax rebates and any other registrations that the client might need to be registered for due to the growth or change in their business profile. All right, that's also when you ask the clients if they've made any business-related payments using personal funds, and you'll be surprised how many legitimate receipts they pull out to get claimed. So everything gets saved, and also if you are using Xero, the Xero system, we like to save some of our key reports in PDFs so that we know that this is our final copy. We want to lock the file and save and print some reports. If you're using an MYB system, account right, then you can actually back up the file and take it offline as a copy. And also internally as a BAS agent, we want to remember to charge annual MYB and Xero subscription fees to our clients. So that's when I internally have a spreadsheet and I review to make sure that we've charged all our clients for the subscription fees. MYB, Xero, Receipt Bank, QuickBooks, and anything else that might arise. Because it is, you tend to forget these things because you're busy working with clients on their bookkeeping, on their books, and you forget about your own stuff. So I use that as, again, as a trigger for that. Also, so this is when we talk to our clients about if they've grown to a level that they need assistance, or maybe they've had a few HR issues, some fair work claims during the year. This is when we would talk to them and recommend an HR specialist. Maybe they need to change the award they're on, or maybe they're not paying the correct pay rates. So again, we do a thorough review of that, and employment contracts. Right? We talk to our clients about insurance, business insurance. We have a set of brokers that we work with to see if they're fully covered or not. We don't give any advice on that because it's outside of our bookkeeping arena, but we mention to them to make sure if they're fully covered, because it is good for clients to review their business insurance every year. And as we look at the new processes, we might introduce deputy or a payroll add-on solution to them to simplify their payroll, or Receipt Bank, HubDoc, and something similar to help them with archiving of supplier invoices, supporting evidence, and all that sort of stuff. And that's when you talk to them about how they want to grow their business, what do they want to do next year, because everything they tell you will have an impact on the way you do your job as a bookkeeper or as an accountant. It impacts your chart of accounts. It impacts your workflow of how you record the figures and show it to them. So does anyone have any questions on the BAS agent process from our point of view for the end of year process? Let's have a look. All good. All right, and now towards the end, the last slide
Does
is
anyone else?
basically... Yep,
Sorry.
sorry, Tiana.
Maybe we should ask the question. Does anyone else do anything different from what you
Yes.
do?
Absolutely. Have I missed anything? Happy to interact with other and members on the forum.
Okay, it seems like we are good.
No, nothing?
Everyone agree. Everyone agrees with you, seems like it.
Happy for you guys to put it in the questions box down the bottom in the chat feature, or just take your microphone off mute and feel free to jump in if you like. All right. So the next part is the tax agent process. So this is where normally the tax agents, they do their tax planning with clients. They sit down and review numbers to see what can be done to minimize tax, to set up a different structure with clients going forward if the business has changed and evolved. This is also a good time for us because a lot of accountants would have finalized the tax returns around May or by May for the previous financial year. So it's a good time for me to talk to our accounting partners and see if they want us to do anything different in our bookkeeping approach to their clients. Is there anything that we can do to make their life easier? Did we make any mistakes or any categories that they needed to reallocate to get the figures to a more accurate position? So that's where the collaboration happens between the tax agents and the BAS agents. And that's when we're aiming to get all our work done internally by the end of July, because again, we need to lodge BASs by the end of July. We need to have done single touch payroll to finalize that and all our reconciliations for the year. And that's when we would email the tax agents with all our work and then leave it up to them with their workflow to start preparing tax returns and financials for clients. Because a lot of clients nowadays, they're wanting to get loans, car finance, and all that requires management reports. It requires lodged tax returns or at least drafts. So it puts a lot of pressure on everyone. So as a bookkeeper, we try to relieve that pressure for the clients and the tax agents by having our work done as quickly as possible. And that's only possible by using third-party software like GovReports or others to be extremely organized in what we do. And that's where we can, accountants, tax agents will also have their own internal checklists to look at profit and loss accounts, balance sheets, to look at key accounts within the profit and loss. For example, repairs and maintenance, legal fees, wages and superannuation accounts. They can check all our reconciliations, and that's where we provide supporting evidence for all key accounts. And you use a lot of digital signatures and automation, which obviously GovReports provides for us when it comes to BAS lodgements, some clients with single touch payroll and tax file declaration lodgements. So the more digital signatures and automation you can introduce to your practice or to your work, it actually streamlines everything. All the paperwork is in the one location, and it makes it really easy for the end of the year process. So that is it from me. Any questions? Tiana, anything from your side?
No, it seems like everyone's is in agreement with you.
Obviously, if you guys want to ask me any questions after this session, please feel free to email Tiana and she can forward it to me. I'm more than happy to have an ongoing discussion of what we as an industry, as bookkeepers, can do to make our process as streamlined as possible.
The other thing while we're waiting for people to send through the questions. I think sometime last year we released a feature. It's called BAS Summary Report. Is that right, Sandeep? Yep. So the BAS Summary Report, and that's on the GovReports. And if you go to My Lodgements, BAS Summary Report, you'll be able to get a list of, be able to select which clients, which financial year, and we'll give you a summary of the BAS's informations that were the IS or all the activity statements that were lodged during that financial year, which, it's in some way, it does help in seeing what have, for you to get a summary of what has been submitted to the ATO, and be able to prepare that and discuss that with the accountant a lot easier, I guess.
Absolutely. And we've actually used that feature, and we've been using it. So every time we pick up a new client, we sometimes, the GST accounts are very messy. So we will do that GST report in GovReports to give us a summary for the last 1, 2 or 3 years, and we can compare that to the BAS's, the BAS information within the accounting package. So that's been incredible, and we've actually changed our end-of-year process for BAS reconciliations to factor in the reports from GovReports, Tiana. That's been a really cool feature from you guys.
Cool. We do have a questions from Mark, and I think this is more for you, Anatole. So what is your, at the moment, what is your job management software?
So we've been using a system called Center. It's a UK-based software package that does a whole bunch of practice management automation tools. You can email our clients checklists, questionnaires. All my staff can mark off the progress at each job level, be it for monthly bookkeeping work or for our compliance tasks. So even something as simple as lodging a BAS, we have about 14 to 15 different steps in terms of checks and balances that need to be done, including putting it in GovReports and sending it to clients for authorization. And that way it gives me a great dashboard to monitor what we're up to for each client. Yep, so good question, Mark.
So Mark, we do that. You can also do in GovReports, and yeah, it's entirely up to you. I think Anatole has been using the system way before his team start using GovReports, so it's a lot easier for him to continue on with his software. But if you don't have it, like I said, you can always try the GovReports the Office Practice Management system.
Yep, correct. Yeah, we've been using it for a few years. And any practice management software takes a bit of time to develop and systemize to the way you do things. But once it's set up, it is amazing. And I had a look at GovReports. Yep, it pretty much does exactly what you want.
The signing, Mark has another question. Does this allow signing of engagement letters as well? In GovReports, yes. And we do have, templates, available that you can customize, or you can just use upload your own and create your own templates to letter of engagement templates, and then basically attach and send it to your clients to sign off.
Like also, I used GovReports to send to about 150, 180 clients to send out this single touch payroll authorization. So every year as BAS agents, because we lodge STP on behalf of clients, we need to get their approval. So yeah, I used GovReports, which was pre-populated with the client's name because it gets it all from their database, standard letter with the terms and conditions and obviously the date range, and just send it off to the clients. Tiana helped me with that. And that worked amazingly well. Pretty much every client signed it within a week. Yeah, so very easy to do.
It is entirely up to you, Mark. And like I said, if you want to, sort of like take a little bit of time, set up your system, and you'll be able to have access to all of these. A lot of it is available at your fingertips. But like I said, if you want to customize it, you can customize it to your own taste or your own, your own ways of doing things. Okay, any other questions? We do have, we previously have covered some of the previous webinars that we have covered through the letter of engagements and, letter of authority and using letters and templates within the system. You can go to the GovReports website, the webinars page, and be able to access to the recording of it if you wish to do so, if you wish to revisit the webinar. Okay, it seems like we have covered most of the questions that we have got so far today. If you have other questions, as Anatole mentioned earlier, just please don't hesitate to reach out to us either by email or telephone or however means it is easier for you. Let us know. Well, that's all, folks. Like I said, the webinar recording will be posted on our website on the webinars page. If you like to revisit or look at other webinars recording as well. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Anatole, for your for sharing with us today, and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye for now.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Tiana. Bye.
Bye.